And before I go to the saw, I'm going to wrap my lines here so that I can be sure of where my cut line is. I'm going to do it on both sides. And I don't know how long I've had this tool. But this is one of those situations where I'm glad I have it. So it allows me to place it on my line, make sure my pencil's in the right spot, and then bring that up. Same thing on this side. There we go. So now I know my lines are wrapped perfectly, and then whichever way I put this on my setup, I'll be able to read off of either side. Doesn't matter which way I set this up. So let's go to the table saw and figure out how we're going to do that. Okay, I've gotten things set up here. The one thing I want to tell you was I want to make sure my blade was square. And then I have to use my lines. You know, you can't take this and reverse it because these tenons are not exactly the same length. I don't know what I did. Some of them I must have shortened for some reason, but this part is the same this way because I did those all at the same time on the table saw. So I know those are all the same. And if there was a way to register off of that point, I could go back and forth, but I don't have the way of doing that. Now I gotta make sure I got the right one here. Yeah, there we go. So even with this one, I have to register off of the way I set it up, which is this tenon here. I'm going to make my cut. I've got my kerf maker here. I'm going to reverse this and then make my other one, and then waste out the middle. That should fit this piece right here perfectly, and then I'll set up and do these cuts. Now this one's going to be a little more difficult because of the way it's angled, but I'll figure that out. So let's do this one first. Right there, yep. I gotta trust my lines. I'm gonna get a clamp on this. Hang on, I forgot that. Hang on 1 second. Nope, this is not going to work. Got to be a wood screw clamp. Double check my line here. Looks good. Yep. Okay. nice. Nice fit. It just slips. Okay. So now we'll set up for the other one. Yeah, it's going to get, that's where I measured it from this side, so it's going to get tighter as I put it on that way, which is good. Okay, now we'll do this side. Again, trusting my lines. Now this is the same. Right, it's the same height, so if I register off of this point right here for the long one, no wait, can't do that because this is the short one here, right here. So I've got to use the lower point. Really don't like that idea either. Let me get another stop in here. Probably should have done this the first time. This is my reference block here, stop, and this floats and registers against this for the kerf maker. So I've got my inside line established, and then I'll just go back this way to establish my outside line. So let me make this cut. We'll see where I'm at. Right up my sleeve. Beautiful. So I need to just be a hair deeper. It's going to be nice. So there we are. So that's my top one. I've got to get this just a hair deeper. I can do that with a chisel. Or let's see if this is the one that just came off. just raise the blade up here a little bit. There we go. Okay, so that's the top one. It's a kind of a lot of screwing around, but that's the way it's got to be. I want these things to mate up perfectly, so that's nice and flush. That's great. Okay, I'm happy with that one. Now I just got to repeat the process on the bottom one here. And then no need to show you that one. I'll come back when that's ready to go. So that's going to go on, yeah, we'll go on this way. This will be the top. So there we are. A little glue on that and that baby won't come apart. Okay. Let me set up for the other ones here. Well, one thing I just realized here, and that maybe this will be helpful if you ever want to do a project like this, is first of all I use my marking tool this way, right up against the board. After I centered this up, you know, using the same measuring methods as before, just going back and forth with my tri-square, and then I made sure this was square this way. So that's fine. So I know this board is marked properly now, the bottom board. So I need to get the top board marked properly. Now I don't need to worry about this one being centered this way. That doesn't matter to me anymore. So I don't have to set it up and make this thing be centered and this one be centered. It doesn't matter. Just as long as it's close, I guess, because you want that, you're going to use the center part of the board as your cut. So I'm just going to eyeball this. And that, well, actually I can center it up because I got my lines right there. So square it up like that. And I don't need to use two tri-squares anymore because I don't need to go back and forth on all four of them. I can just use the one, measure this side, and then measure the other. And I'm about 3/16 off. So I'm going to go just a hair over. A little less than 1/8, I guess. Let's see, right there. Push the board over. didn't push the board, I pushed the whole thing. That's why we're off. Alright, that's close. But I'm touching this side and I'm not touching on this side. So I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Push the board to that. Make sure I'm still square here. And then another little nudge. All right, I'm touching here. No, I'm not. This side is perfect. Gotta keep that up there. That's perfect. This side is I'm a little long, or a little, yeah. It's gonna come back to me a little. I want to split the difference there. Looks pretty good. Okay, keeping the ruler flat on the board. Butted up against my shoulder. I am just touching there. And here I'm just off. Tap this just a little bit. I think I'm going to live with that right there. Just a little tap here. Now I am going to butt my ruler up against it. Make sure, yep, there it is. Okay, there it is, right there. Square. One last check here. Yep, that'll do. Okay, so now I'll make my marks. I'm just going to go just a little bit back. Just can't believe that would be that big of a difference, but oh want to be touching both sides. There. All right. So this way. There we have it. Waste and waste. Okay. To the table saw. I'll cut these and we'll bring them back. Put one set together and see how it looks. All right, this is one of those Yahoo moments for me. It goes together. And I'm sure that once I put the dowels in these things and tighten everything up, it's going to be great. I do have a little bit of wiggle right here, which means these legs are a little, I don't want to say short, but I guess you have to. They're a little short. So I'm going to have to take a little off of these legs here for this particular stool. Not a big deal. You know, the other way to compensate for it would be to drop this section just a little bit, and then I'd have to, you know, flush this up here. But I think it'll be much easier to do it the other way. This is flush right now. This up here on the top, let me see where I'm at here. This on the top is a little high. But that'll be easy to get to with a block plane or whatever method to flush that up. It's just a little bit, maybe just a little sanding too, actually. So I'm happy. I'm pleased with the way that goes together. My methods were good. So you can see the joint here, I hope, yeah. And that will, I mean, it's as sturdy as can be right now, and there's no glue, there's no pins, there's nothing in it. It's just loose tenons and loose half lap joints here. So what I'll do now is see where I'm at. Let's see. Now that's a little low. I think that's not bad. I think I'm going to glue these T's up flush and let the legs compensate when I put them together. I think that if I drop that leg just a little bit on that side, this one's flush but this one's not, that would probably take the wobble out of it. So it's looking good. So like I say, the main thing for me now is I'll get the other crosses made. I've got this one all marked, you know, A's, B's, double A's, double B's. So it's going to go back together this way. I'll mark my dowel holes here in the tenons. But I guess I can't glue these together. I guess I could. I'd have to figure out a way to, I don't really want to hand drill those. I'll think about that. But for now, looks good. I'm happy with the way it's going together. And then I've got to obviously make my seat up here, but that is going to be spectacular, I think, for a stool. So I think this will pull together nicely. with those dowels, and the truth will be in the pudding, or the proof will be in the pudding, I guess, when I get it, start to glue it together. So let me get everything else cut up, half lapped. You know, that takes quite a little time to do. This whole business here took me probably a good hour and a half just to do this one. Maybe an hour, but quite a little time anyway. So I'll come back when I've got them all done.